one's SQ. And this is because of the nature of awareness. Once you're truly aware of something, it's impossible to ever become truly unaware of it ever again. In the same way that you cannot re-watch a movie that you just watched and have the same exact experience. So when it comes to the SQ test, negative means stagnation, positive means progression. And then on the left side of the screen are going to be the points for integration at this level. This section shows the sadhana, or spiritual practices and disciplines required to integrate and transcend the lessons given at this level of SQ. Remember in episode 1, we said that spiritual intelligence is one's capacity for self-awareness and integration. So on the right side of the screen are the things to be aware of at each level, and on the left side of the screen are the things to integrate at each level. So now that you understand how the SQ test works, let's go ahead and dive into it. The lowest state of spiritual intelligence is insanity, which correlates to the root chakra. This SQ range is between 1 and 50, and the identity at this level is I am the body, which represents the lowest level of awareness. The root chakra contains the energies of survival and sexuality. So when the root chakra is left alone and is not endowed with any of the intelligence from the upper 6 chakras, it is a very distorted and painful state of SQ. The obstacles at this level are the extreme and constant suffering and strong addictions to stimulation. Someone at this level is not even interested in personal development yet, because they're too busy just trying to make it through the day and to fill the aching void that they feel inside. Partying, drinking, drugs, and all kinds of thrill-seeking is what the mind is interested in at this level, which is why people at this level suffer from extreme depression, anxiety, and self-loathing. There is total identification with the body, which creates a deep victim consciousness. A person's belief at this level is that all of my problems are everyone else's fault, because the world is just bad and evil, and I am its victim. So someone at this level is basically just living in survival mode. And the catalysts out of this range are actually the chasing and acquiring of those pleasures and thrills, because it will give the soul the experience that it needs to realize that nothing outside of itself can ever lead to happiness. This is the most important lesson to learn at this SQ level. Somebody at this SQ also finds great pleasure in revenge and getting even, which will also teach them about forgiveness and humility. The integration at this level is to begin learning how to see things differently, to be more open-minded. One has to become sick and tired of being a victim all the time. That is the first step towards personal growth and empowerment. So practicing awareness of one's thoughts and feelings is extremely important at this level. Learning that one does not have to say or do everything that comes into one's mind, or to make a huge deal about every emotion that is felt. This begins to open up space and allows awareness to begin healing. And most importantly of all, transcending this level of SQ requires one to desire to escape from their own insanity and suffering. The next level of SQ is sanity, which correlates to the sacral chakra. This SQ range is between 51 and 75, and the identity at this level is I am the person. This is the range where one becomes interested in personal development. It may look like wanting to have a successful career, relationship, or to make a name for oneself. But it begins at the point where one realizes that their state of consciousness can be improved, and they aren't just a total victim to the world. So the negatives or obstacles at this SQ level are still the severe levels of suffering. But the desire for personal development becomes a kind of light at the end of the tunnel, and something hopeful to focus on, whereas the root chakra level has no such hope. There are still moderate addictions at this level, but that energy is somewhat absolved by the focus on personal improvement. There's also still a strong body identification, but at this level, one's attention turns to who they are as an individual. Because this level is all about achieving outcomes, a person at this level will experience lots of stress and frustration. But the positives, or catalysts, at this level are that one begins to have some awareness of their inner world, and may even begin practicing things like positive affirmations. But there's no real interest in spiritual practices yet, like meditation. The obsession with personal gain and status also brings the soul many powerful and important lessons, which will give it some forward momentum towards the solar plexus. The integration at this level requires one to learn discipline and self-responsibility for their life. Developing an interest in spirituality and self-empowerment will quickly accelerate one to the solar plexus. Practicing not just observing, but questioning one's thoughts and feelings is critical at this level, because one needs to become aware that everything they think and feel is not necessarily true or reliable. At the root chakra level, the desire is, I just want to survive through the day. At the sacral level, it is, I just want to improve myself. And at the solar plexus level, the desire is, I want to realize my full potential. So desiring what exists at the next SQ level is always an important way to transcend the current level. The next SQ level is empowerment, and it correlates to the solar plexus chakra. This SQ range begins at 76 and ends at 100, and the identity is, I am the mind. The negatives here are moderate but tolerable amounts of suffering, some addictions to stimulation, and moderate body identification. This range is all about one's relationship to others and the world, as well as learning about the power of the mind to create reality. So jealousy and unworthiness are the emotions that can cause the most stagnation at this level. This SQ range is where people become interested in religion and spirituality, typically through law of attraction and self-empowerment teachings, like, you can do anything you put your mind to. Your only limit is what you can believe, or see it, believe it, achieve it. This kind of thinking is very attractive to people at this level, which opens up the door to real spirituality, but it's also the level where the spiritual ego is born. But the spiritual ego is actually one of the positives in this range, because it means that one will be highly interested in spiritual learning and growth. And as the ego becomes more empowered at this level, it becomes a great catalyst for evolution. But if the spiritual ego gets too inflated, it can also become a negative. Another catalyst at this level is that one begins to fall in love with the idea of creating their own reality, and will typically gravitate strongly towards teachings on the power of thought and manifestation. There's also a strong desire to have healthy and strong relationships, which teaches one self-awareness. As the awareness of one's inner world grows stronger at this level, one will be drawn to spiritual practices like yoga, astrology, and meditation. The integration required at the empowerment level is to reach for the qualities of love, learning to forgive and understand people rather than judging them, and developing an interest in doing inner healing and shadow work as a means of manifesting a better life. Practicing the awareness of one's limiting beliefs is very helpful at this level, but the desire to experience love is the most important of all. A big percentage of the SQ chart is derived from the teachings of the Law of One, and what we've just gone over is what the Law of One calls the primal rays, or the lower three chakras. And these are the energy centers where we do our healing and balancing and shadow work. But we're now about to move into the upper four spiritual rays.